Welcome to Outspoken, where we dive deep into the topics and intersection of technology, money, business, and passion. I'm your host, Shana Cosgrove.
A lot of people think about recruiting and HR as an afterthought of the business, and they focus on just the tech, but really, people make the world go round. Interview your boss. When you're going to go find a job, you need to ensure you're working for someone who will take you somewhere that you can't get by yourself. It's like this stoic trudge. How it feels when you're doing it sucks. But then you get the pleasure of looking back and saying, oh, I did that, and here's where I am at now.
At Nyla Technology Solutions, we believe America's warfighters deserve the absolute best technology advantage on the battlefield. We are an AI engineering company focused on helping the Department of War move faster, think smarter, and achieve true information dominance. Our team builds mission-ready artificial intelligence, advanced data platforms, and decision advantage capabilities that help leaders see clearly and act decisively. In a world where the speed of information can determine victory, Nyla is committed to delivering strength through innovation, ensuring our nation stays secure, competitive, and ready for whatever comes next. Nyla Technology Solutions is an SBA-certified 8A, woman-owned small business. Our contract vehicles include GSA Mass, 8A Stars 3, and MDA Shield. For more information, partnering opportunities, or the latest job openings, please check out our website, www.nyla.io, or email us at hello@nyla.io. Good morning, Ross. I'm very excited to be with you today.
Good morning. How are you? Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You gave me 2 thumbs up. I love it. I'm a little bit of a fangirl of yours. I think it's weird to say to a fellow CEO, but one of the things I really admired about you before I really knew you was you cracked the nut on how to recruit and retain the super hard technical staff with the super hard clearances to get. So you were looking for those purple squirrels, and you not only did it well, you did it extraordinarily well. What I liked about it too is that you don't come from that background. You were not a data scientist or an engineer yourself, but you were able to really speak and attract to those people. I liked your energy that you put out there, that you were more willing to put yourself out and in an environment where people aren't always comfortable sticking their neck out, standing out, and you did it in a positive, helpful way. So those were 2 things that really always stood out to me before I really knew you.
Thanks for saying that. I didn't invent how to recruit people, but I definitely prioritized it. When you're growing your technology company, you have to have good technologists. A lot of people think about recruiting and HR as an afterthought of the business, and they focus on just the tech, but really people make the world go round. You have to have the right team. We always did put emphasis on that, but in full credit, I had a lot of good mentors through the years, Vince and Virgil Verga. Those guys really refined some of the manual on this stuff, and Billy Henson, just awesome folks who understand people delivery and how to attract good talent. In terms of putting myself out there, I've got nothing to hide. I think a lot of people, they try to separate who they really are and then their work. I don't think that's the right way to live life. You just got to be yourself. And some people are going to hate your flavor and some people are going to love your flavor. But at the end of the day, you get to say that you are you, and you get to be authentic, that you've got great intentions and you don't have the bad intentions. Say what's on your mind and on your heart. It's not bad because it's the truth. The truth will set you free. What good, what bad, how bad could it possibly get to speak truth? So yeah, I appreciate that.
I think there's bravery in feeling very comfortable in being authentic because, as you said, some people might not like it. And that is a hard thing initially to get comfortable with, that you will have haters. I think a general thing that we're raised is professional is appealing to all. That being in a professional environment is trying to appeal to the broadest concept. For business, it's better to appeal to as much as possible, right? Because then you have more opportunities, but then you are bland and not differentiated. You're missing that authenticity, which is what people respond to the most. I know that I can trust what you're saying.
Yeah, I agree. There's nothing more off-putting for me than going into a business meeting and you can tell that I don't really know who you are after we just had a 30 or 60-minute meeting. There's nothing real or genuine. It's just the message that you would tell me is the same message you tell everyone else. I think authenticity is key, and being genuine and being yourself. This is the information age. Everyone's got the internet. They look at things. Everyone knows what's real and what's not. There's more than ever now, people just appreciate being real, and they think it's just a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I think even actually AI being generative and the ability to produce people's words, people's decks, people's email, the trust factor and feeling that it was an actual human behind it will skyrocket. So while there will be a glut, I think generative AI is going to do the same thing where, sure, it's cool that it could produce a draft of a slide deck for you or created a white paper for you. But at the end of the day, that trust is going to be critical. Having that unique perspective is going to be critical because AI could generate the same thing for everybody. How do I know that it's actually from you? So you graduated high school and you went into the military?
That's correct. High school, straight to an enlisted infantryman.
In Marine Corps?
Yep. Marine Corps infantry. I grew up in a depressed economic environment in Ohio, somewhere between Dayton and Cincinnati. And there just wasn't a whole lot of opportunity there, not a whole lot of education. Also, I come from a pretty significantly underprivileged background. I think probably a lot of people don't know that about me. Initially, college was not an option, mostly financially for me and my family. Is either go work a factory job or work in construction or get out and do something. So I wanted to join the Marines. I thought that'd be a good challenge. It was 2003. 9/11 had just taken place. There was a great sense of patriotism in our country at the time, which of course I sorely miss. I wish that everyone still had a little bit more patriotic sentiment, but went right into the Marines, ended up finishing a degree. Some of my college credits I got done in the Marines. I did nights and weekends when we were on camp. I was burning the candlestick at both ends. When I got out, I actually went back to school and got a degree in business at Strayer University. I did some online and some in person. And they did have a federal acquisitions major. So it was a business degree with a major in federal acquisitions. I thought that was super helpful. I was working in government contracting after the Marines. And then I had that formal education alongside. So it was pretty cool. Good opportunity.
How long were you in the Marines for?
I did 4 years.
4 years.
Got out as a sergeant.
What was your first government contracting job?
My track was always internal. I got a job with SGIS. Vince Verga founded that company. It was the rat pack of government recruiting. These guys really mastered government contract. They mastered the recruiting piece. They knew that they could just subcontract and grow a heck of a business by providing people. So I learned that model. I came in as a recruiter, and they eventually realized that they would need to go prime work, and they shifted their model intelligently. To do that, they always had the recruiting engine. So that's where I lucked out. I landed in an environment where I was taught that model. That was great experience.
Now, you have built and sold 2 businesses, one services, one product company. Any other businesses that I don't know about that you've sold already?
No.
Now you are CEO of Crimson Phoenix.
Correct. I'm the CEO of Crimson Phoenix. We're about 600 folks specializing in technology-enabled intelligence for the intel community and some special DoD components as well.
And you're married with 2 kids, 3 kids?
2 kids.
So you have come a long way from Ohio. Did you have a very clear sense of achieving all that you have at the pace that you have? Did you have this set vision when you were in the Marine Corps for 4 years and you're like, all right, I'm going to get a degree, but you've achieved so much and most people think is wildly successful. What was the secret to having just done that so well and so fast?
A lot of people don't know what they don't know, and they don't know what they don't have. When I was in 6th grade, the first year of middle school, I realized I was poor. I didn't really get it until then. I didn't have nice clothes, and all the other kids had Abercrombie and Fitch. And our parents did our best. We had some Tommy Hilfiger stuff. I remember getting a Tommy Hilfiger shirt, the jeans with the loop. That was a huge deal for our family. My parents did their absolute best within their means to try to provide for us. I realized that I went to other friends' houses and saw what they wore, and I was like, okay, now I know that I'm not there. It's just weird little things that stick on you as you grow up. I remember seeing the movie American Psycho. Don't get me wrong. No desire to mass murder people with chainsaws, but some things stuck out about that movie. The very beginning of the movie, Patrick Bateman was going through his morning routine, and he lived in a penthouse. He had a closet full of tailored suits. He was absolutely elite physical fitness. He had a luxury facial routine and moisturizers, skin and body care package. At that time, I was like, that is optimal. That's how life should be. You should wake up and have peace, health, and nice things. And it shouldn't be so violent and chaotic, scrambling for your next crumb. At some point, I realized I wanted to be successful. You have to have something in you to sacrifice pleasure now for vision later. My life story is kind of a miracle. I have more than a half a dozen close friends growing up that are dead. Drug overdose, a lot of drugs overdoses from that area. Southwest Ohio is like fentanyl capital of America. By no means should I be where I'm at today. People see this, but they don't understand everything that went into it. When I was in the Marines, we went on a Navy ship for 7 months. My friends in the Marines, they packed Xboxes and PlayStations and portable DVD players. I packed 21 books. Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I read 3 books a month for 7 months, and I was 19. When I was 22 and I was a man, I paid my own bills. I had paid my own rent. There was never any help for me. Early career, I worked every single weekend when I didn't have to as a recruiter, because I knew that's the best time to reach people. Before I started IC1, I had a period of my life for over a year where I woke up between 4 and 4:30 every single day. When I could sleep in on weekends, then I slept until 5:30. People don't understand that. There was a period of 3 years where I didn't miss one single day of a 20-minute meditation in the morning. 4:30 wake up, light a candle, meditate, let everything land. All the visions are coming in, all the things you want to do, all the desire is coming in. Don't do anything. Sit, be still. After the bell rings, after 20 minutes, it's go time. You're writing down these visions, you're clarifying visions, you're refining visions, seeing the path that you want to live, and praying to God, show me. I want it. Any door you open, I'll step through. I promise. Every day for years. Those are the things that people don't see. Those are the things that most people are not willing to do because they want Sunday fun day and mimosas. They want to go out on Thursday nights and have drinks and this and that. I'm on a little tangent right now, but I think the point is like, yeah, I've achieved some success despite my background. It wasn't all just like happenstance. I was willing to do the hard things, the things that you don't want to do now, but you do because it'll pay off later.
Yeah, there was a great Under Armour commercial a while ago, and it talks about what happens in the dark. It shows all these athletes getting up and doing their routines and working through everything when people are only seeing little snippets of it, or they're seeing the outcome. They're not seeing so much of what's happening consistently. It's uncomfortable and it's painful, but it keeps accruing and it's cumulative to you really learn after you do something for so long. I think people can understand the sacrifice, but sometimes it takes a lot of sacrifice before you see a valuable outcome. Putting yourself through this additional pain or deviating from the common life that's a little bit more pleasurable or allows for more freedom, having that dedication and having that belief that doing these behaviors will lead to an outcome when the outcome isn't fast.
Yeah, that is true. It's not immediate gratification. It's like this stoic trudge. How it feels when you're doing it sucks. But then you get the pleasure of looking back and saying, oh, I did that. And here's where I am at now. A lot of people get this through like running or endurance sports. It's the concept of it's greater later.
Yeah.
Right?
So you end up as a recruiter, you're working, you're calling at night, you're calling on the weekends. That's when people answer. 10 a.m. on Saturdays. I remember you saying that.
Yeah. It's a good time to do it.
What made you take the leap from being an employee to starting your own?
It was a distinct moment, actually. I was an employee at TPGS and I was a director there. I was running a lot of the business. Every client relationship I was main POC for. I was managing the recruiting team. We had opened up a new office. I remember the owners of the company flew in and did the ribbon cutting ceremony. There's like Ritz crackers and cheese and some cheap champagne. Then they all went out to dinner afterwards with their wives. Me and my team were sitting there going, now we're here in an empty office with Ritz crackers that we got to clean up. I was well compensated in my late 20s or whatever. Life was good. I didn't worry about finances, but I was an employee. That was the moment where this thing switched in me. And I was like, I'm doing this. I can do this. I just started planning. The planning period was about a year. And that was those 4:30 wake ups, right? I already had my full-time day job. There's only a little bit of time to get it planned out. But that was when I decided to make the switch. Unless you have some inheritance that you're waiting on, or you make a really lucky stock crypto pick, there's not many ways to get wealthy without being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And if you make $1 million a year,
you still have to show up every day.
Yeah. That's a hamster wheel, right? If you saved and you make great investments, then you can do it that way. Generally, people in the employed world, if they were making $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000 a year, they'd think, oh, hey, I'm pretty successful. Then you've got your lifestyle that you now have to afford, which is a bigger mortgage and better cars and yada, yada. And there's not a whole lot left over to really meaningfully invest.
There is a flipping point, though. You can't just start a business and be a onesie twosie shop, because that also isn't going to get you the long-term real financial wealth that you're aiming for. It gives you a certain amount of freedom, but until you're able to earn an income, you have an asset that is earning and generating an income for you that you don't have to show up and work. That's the real freedom. Everybody wants, and I don't blame anybody for it, everybody wants the most money for the least amount of work. But in business, you can have your business, and I see it. That's why I've created that micro business program, because it's great that they had the dream and the initiative, and now they have to keep pushing through to grow the business so that it is not a noose around their neck. They have the business and they are spending more time working less and having less of a life, because you have to keep pushing through to build it to something that's bigger than you as the individual.
Yeah, you've got to make money while you're sleeping. You have to scale something to create a machine. If the machine is working and you are gone, the machine still produces. That's the goal. That's when you know you started to actually build something real.
So your first company was called IC1.
Yep.
You grew it from yourself to 240 employees in 4 years. What's the metric?
Yeah, we grew from April 2017, one employee, me, to April 2019, 120 to 140 people in 2 years. 2 years after that, into 2021, we were at almost 250 people.
What was the type of job that you were typically hiring for?
At the time, full scope polygraph, DevOps engineers or software engineers or data engineers or cyber engineers. But yeah, all engineers.
3 of the hardest jobs to hire for with the addition of the clearance.
Super tough. Yeah.
Within a rate constrained environment, you still have the commercial market especially living in Northern Virginia, trying to attract and retain those people as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Those numbers are absolutely extraordinary. I've been at my business for 13 years and we're about at 85 people. I can't even highlight enough for the people out there who do not understand government contracting or the national security environment, but that is absolutely extraordinary.
Thanks. I don't know that it would be the same way if I started something today, though, to be fair. The environment has changed a bit, so could have been some good timing. There's a lot of hard work and really great team, and we had great systems and processes at that business. It was a great run.
While you're there, you started creating your own recruiting applicant tracking system.
Yeah, Agile ATS. We built that because we basically had an old whiteboard where we would track our candidates through every stage: submission, interview, send offer, offer accepted, clearance crossover, start date set, then final stage is started work. We just need to do this virtually. When we have our recruiting meetings, people can dial in from their home and we can see it in a system. So we built this version 1 Kanban board of candidate tracking.
Were they sticky notes on the whiteboard?
Dry erase.
So you actually had to erase and then move them.
Oh, yeah.
How many columns were there?
Submit, interview, approved, crossover, start date set.
That started when you submitted to the prime.
We actually had a pre-stage to that, which was called in the loop. The old in the loop stage, that brings back a memory. I haven't said that in a long time, but yeah, candidates that were in the loop, that means like we're working them.
Then you got approval to submit them. So the submit is the big one. I always track how many submissions did we have and what's the conversion rate. How many did the prime accept? That's the big one.
That's great. Yeah. You want to track from recruiters, you got to track the submissions. And then that is your recruiter metric. If those aren't there, then you can go into activity and how many calls they make a day. When you manage your customers, then you have to look at submit to interview ratio. Submit to interview ratios is interesting because it tells you about your customer, but also tells you about potentially the quality of your candidates that you're submitting. If you break up into accounts and you have different account managers at your business, you can look at their individual submit to interview ratios and determine if there's a trend. Some account managers may let really loose, crappy resumes fly to get the recruiters more numbers. Some account managers could be a lot more strict and stringent on what they will even present to their clients. If the account manager has really high standards and only sends the best candidates, they could see increased ratios. But it also tells you about your customer. Interview to accept is also a good metric.
One of the things you've talked about in the past is not every recruiter could make it. You had originally taken people who hadn't done recruiting before and you were putting them through your training program of making them a recruiter. You could tell sometimes that it wasn't going to work. Yeah,
for sure. Over the years, I've become pretty keen on what'll make a good recruiter. At the end of the day, a good recruiter is very organized. You have to be extremely organized and able to multitask. And sometimes you can't really test for that. So like part of being a great recruiter is, can you be likable and convincing over the phone? Can you convince someone to see things your way? You can put people through sales training and there are tricks and tactics and techniques on how to overcome objections. But at the end of the day, some people just don't have that in them. They cannot effectively convince another human to see something their way. In addition to that, you also have to have super strong methodical organization skills. And you also have to be a really hard worker because recruiting is frankly a numbers game. It really is a numbers game. Like it comes down to how many people you can connect with on a daily basis. Like the movie Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith is the best example of that in a movie. When he gets his call center job, there's a whole scene where he explains the math of the numbers game. To sniff these things out, recruiting interviews at our companies now are getting a lot more sophisticated. We always incorporate an offsite meeting in the recruiting interview. I'll passively stay back while they order coffee and I'll see how they interact with the barista or the cashier. And I'll see if they have the people smarts to look at me and see if they should order for me. Like I like to see how they work in public and how interact with people. Then we also have incorporated the puck test. PUP, called Pick Up Phone. On one of their interviews, I give them a fake job requirement and a 20-person call list. I'm like, call all these people and try to recruit them for this job and just tell them that you're an associate recruiter and that if they're interested, you'll refer them to a senior recruiter. I just want to see how they get thrown into the fire. Those two things tend to weed out some red flags, but hire slow and fire fast.
Sometimes you said that at the end of the first week when you did the training session, you'd say that people weren't going to make it.
I've hired people for 1 week. I've hired people for 2 weeks. I've hired people for a month or two. I know that may seem ruthless, but it's not, because when you've done this long enough and you know your business so well and you see how someone is, there's no time to waste.
So how do you let them go that quickly and do it with a nice human touch?
I think it's simple. I think there's a book called Radical Candor. I really love that, because if you're honest, then what's the worst that can happen? It usually just says, hey, look, we've been doing this long enough to know that you're struggling at this job. If we spend a lot of time with you and give you a ton of energy over the course of a long period of time, you still may only be average.
Yeah.
With that said, we don't have the resources to help that much. So we're going to need to let you go. I'm usually pretty generous with severance at that point, considering if they've left a job for this one or how easy it would be for them to go get their job back or get a new job. And you take those things into consideration. At the end of the day, it's business. As a CEO, owner, operator, whatever, you got to look out for your business. And giving someone a chance is noble, but you didn't give someone a guarantee. You gave them a chance.
Do you warn them ahead of time? Do you say, I'd like to hire you, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out? Do you say anything like that beforehand?
Not explicitly.
Yeah, because some companies used to do a trial period.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
I don't know. I think if people also feel like they're treated humanely,
yeah,
that makes a big way. Some of that is giving people severance or understanding that there's a pain to reentry, that they took a leap of faith on you.
You see them off the right way, make sure they can land on their feet. There's been situations where the recruiter talks me out of it. That's happened. Like, no, Ross, trust me. And I'm like, dude, trust me. I don't think, and give me 2 more weeks, I promise. In one case, it turned around. In a couple cases, it didn't. In one case, it really turned around. It's fair game. They just sold me that they're going to be good. All right, you win.
You do an incentive structure as well. Is that something you still do for your recruiters?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. One of the roles as CEO, you have to know how to incentivize people to get the results that you need. Incentives are super important. In the interview, I'll ask recruiters if they would prefer, I'm just going to throw out random numbers. These are probably not like real anymore. If I could say, hey, recruiter, I'll start you off at $80,000 a year, but if you do medium, you should earn 130 to 140. If you do really well, you could earn 200.
Right.
Or would you just $125,000 salary? And if they pick salary, they'll never work for my company as a recruiter, ever. I would never hire someone with that mentality.
You have a pre-screen where you don't even have to talk to them and ask that question. You just have a questionnaire that they have to answer ahead of time.
My business now, we have an amazing chief people officer, the best I've ever worked with, best in the business, Chris Gross. We've got like the best recruiting leader you could ever imagine. All of our recruiter hires would only come from referrals and network and people we know and trust at this point. If we were to open up a job rec and try to get some junior, fresh talent, I'd imagine we'd make the hiring process a little more streamlined with some DQ questions.
What I really like and appreciate and take away from having watched you or heard you over the years is a focus on sales and the outcome. It's different. I think so many of the people who start businesses and government contracting were either in it themselves or it doesn't have quite the same focus on sales, right? You haven't had your teeth cut on trying to hit a certain number or being held to certain standards. Even if you are doing business development and you're focused on winning proposals, it's still a very long timeline. And there's factors that may or may not apply to you specifically. But I feel that you clocked that intersection of understanding the mission and that criticality of getting that person in, the humanity of really connecting to someone, and then the intensity and the speed and the pace of the processes of if you're not going to do the work at this pace, then you're not going to have an outsized outcome.
When you're hiring internal employees, internal to your company, so indirects, overhead, you get the luxury of getting to really choose who you pick and getting top talent. There's a more infinite hiring pool. There's a very finite hiring pool for people with the appropriate clearances to go support customer sites.
Right.
Like, it's sad, but true. You have to work with what you've got. I just want to say it, the government sector, the caliber of talent is Oregon compared to other industries. We get B class and C class players all the time in this GovCon industry. It's a brutal truth, but if you compare talent in government services to Silicon Valley startups or like Salt Lake City tech companies or Austin tech company, they mop the floor with a lot of this talent here. Somewhat complacent industry. It's sad but true, but there's tons of amazing resources here. Don't get me wrong.
There's a lot of people who are drawn towards living a life that supports the mission versus a life that supports building some product that is pointless or fills somebody else's pocket, right? I don't disagree with you. It's a bell curve anywhere, right? Of what talent is available. There's a small percentage that is really outstanding and makes a significant difference. And then there's a glut that should never show up and actually make things worse. I call those people the negatives, when their existence actually makes it worse because you spend so much time trying to deal with their cleanup and that they're not useful.
Yes. Addition by subtraction.
Yeah, there's a bunch that do the job. They're fine. And it's trying to attract and retain those people that are really extraordinary.
For your internals, for your indirect employees, for me, the standards are extremely high. You're not going to get an overhead dollar at my company unless you're an A player, straight up. It's not a guaranteed roster spot if you were an A player and then you start slacking as well. People have stability here and we have a great culture, but we want to be surrounded by high standards and people who like high standards. As the famous coach Nick Saban said, people with low standards hate high achievers, and people that are high achievers hate people that have low standards.
The high achievers hate seeing that low standards is tolerated.
Yeah.
You sold your second baby, the Agile ATS, to ClearanceJobs.
Yeah, this year.
What was that like?
That was basically like climbing a huge mountain. And then after every 20 or 30 steps, when you're exhausted because it's low altitude and you've been heaving up a hill, someone kicks you in the face. That's what growing a startup product company is like. It is a relentless beast. If we talk about biggest successes and biggest failures, Agile is probably one of my biggest failures. If you take out all the experience and learning that makes that whole thing worthwhile, from a financial standpoint, it was not a success. I had investors that lost some money, and I personally lost some money based upon what we put in versus what we received at the sale. If you account for opportunity cost and time and energy, it was not worth it financially. But learned a ton about product, startups, tech, fundraising, really good experience. But I don't envy any SaaS startup founders. That's a tough job.
Yeah. People would say recruiting super secret squirrels is also a tough job. Everybody's got their different skill set and vision. It's a competitive market. I think when you're really good at something, it seems easy.
Yeah, but there's no capital outlay to government services. Every dollar that you spend, there's the risk of energy and time, but the moment you need to spend $1 on someone's paycheck, it's because they went and billed those hours. That makes it a little bit more palatable for me.
So when people talk to you now and they want to grow up and be like you, what is the advice you give them?
Don't be a pleasure seeker. That's one of the big ones. You have to set your plan based upon principles. Principles are greater than feelings. Feelings will deceive you. You need to figure out what you want. How do you do that? How do you break this down? start with a daily routine. That's number one. You have to have a healthy, consistent routine. If you don't have a morning routine, life is chaos. If you do have a routine, it's like a metronome. No matter what happens between the swing this way and the swing this way, you're going to hit here every day. It brings stability. A routine is where you plan your day, plan your week, plan your month, visualize your future, write down your goals. You have to get up and have a consistent routine. You also have to visualize what you want and write it down. Then you have to be really specific. If you don't know right now, close your eyes, describe your dream life. I want to know what your house looks like. What do you do when you wake up? What does your kitchen look like? What car do you drive? When you walk out your back patio, what do you see? When you walk out your front porch, what do you see? You need to know exactly what you want specifically. You have to see it in your head. You have to see it all. And that takes time. Write down your vision. The next day, take that paper, read it, crump it up in a ball, and write it again with more detail. Do that for a year, as long as it takes. You got to visualize and then be able to sacrifice pleasure for purpose. Those would be like the things I would give advice, along with interview your boss. I got lucky in the sense where my first job, I worked for really good leaders. When you're going to go find a job, you need to ensure you're working for someone who will take you somewhere that you can't get by yourself. Lastly, I would say start a family as soon as you can afford one. Don't sleep on that. That's life. That's real life. All the work stuff is good. All those are great accomplishments, but there's nothing better than having little kids that love you, where you are the world to them. It's like true love. As soon as you find someone who shares your values, who you're compatible with, who you love, and you've got love as a foundation, screw money. If you've got love, have a family as soon as you're able to. It's the best blessing in the world that you could ever imagine.
I'm smiling so big. One question I have for you is, you work a lot. How do you make sure that you are there for your family?
You do it with just good time management. So it's like peaks and valleys. I've got a great routine. I travel to Virginia for work. I live in Florida. So every other week I go to Virginia. I'm stacked from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. I've got work. I've got coffee meetings, lunch meetings, evening meetings, management reviews, and it's 12-hour days. It's fun. I love it. And do that for 4 days straight. And then I come home and it's basically maintenance and catch up and planning. During the peak time, it's go, go, go. During my downtime, it's a lot less, to where on a normal day like today, I'll probably work 6 or 8 total hours, but I can break that up however I want and spend plenty of time with the kids.
I think it's interesting. My kids, they want you when they want you. So one thing I used to try to do is I would be there the second they come home from school, but they give me a hug and then they want to actually be left alone. What they really want me is bedtime. My daughter actually gets really pissed because Wednesday nights are a big industry night event, and I'll be out late sometimes and I miss bedtime, which is about 9 p.m. Especially if I'm in Virginia and driving home. I get some angry text messages from her if I'm not there at that critical time. But after school, it's so funny. I'll be there. I'll try to stop and give them hugs. And they're like, I got my snack, or I want to just zone out. It's giving them the love in the way that they want it and need it at that time.
Yeah.
But before I go, do you mind sharing some of the things that are in your office? So what's the story with this tennis shoe up on your top shelf?
This is a custom Jordan, but it's a Princeton Phoenix Jordan. So it's got our kind of mission statement there.
Your mission statement.
My initials here, the logo all over there. So this was just some core values: set the bar, be proactive, be reliable, always do the right thing, and give back.
Awesome. What about the dollar on the next shelf?
Oh, this is the first dollar I ever earned as an entrepreneur. It's made out to IHost Solutions from General Dynamics. I went to the bank and I said, deposit, but cash me one. I signed it and put the date on it. So the first dollar I ever earned as an entrepreneur. The rest of these things are what they call deal toys or deal trophies. So every time you buy or sell a company. I've sold a couple, but we bought quite a few more. It's common practice to create a little deal toy or deal trophy to commemorate that event.
How are you buying the companies? Is that through a private equity firm or you started yourself or?
I've got the privilege of working with Godspeed Capital.
Yeah.
That most wholesome, ethical, generous private equity firm in the GovCon space. Not the largest, but the best. At Crimson, we've made 7 total acquisitions in the past 2 years. We've been busy on the buy and build strategy.
That's awesome. And what about the final thing, the piece of art behind you?
That is Andy Warhol. It's from the Cowboys and Indians series. And I just always loved it and decided to treat myself for my 40th birthday.
That's awesome. Oh, so it's real.
Yeah, that's a real Andy Warhol. My view on art is that most of it is worthless, but it's just a value to you if you like it. But there are a few artists, Warhol, Picasso, Basquiat, Banksy, who they're actually assets. I've got a few Andy Warhols and I can sell all of them for at least 20% more than I bought them for, except for that one because it's kind of new. Generally speaking, it's a real asset class rather than if you get the right artists.
I can meet up with you in my hometown and we can go to the Andy Warhol Museum. I'm from Pittsburgh.
Oh, they got the Warhol Museum there? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, in Pittsburgh, not too far from your hometown, about an hour drive.
Yeah.
I had a destination wedding in Columbus. My husband's from Akron. I'm from Pittsburgh. We had a destination wedding in Columbus, Ohio.
It's been said that Ohio is the greatest state in the nation. I've heard it before.
I don't know about that, but I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story this morning. It's really inspiring. I'm sure that 18-year-old you can't even believe the outcome that you've achieved.
Yeah, I think I could believe it just because I always saw it.
You saw it and felt it so strongly.
Yeah, I saw it and knew it. But to your point, it is nice to see things come to fruition that you visualize and pray for so long.
I'm impressed, and I've just always enjoyed working with you. And thanks for sharing your time this morning.
Heck yeah, Shana. Always a pleasure. And thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, man. Have a great day.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to today's podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, please share it with friends and family. If you'd like to follow us on social media, you can find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook under the Outspoken Podcast. Thanks again, and until next time.
All right, forgive me. I've got my work from home clothes on. So this is sweet. So